Hello and welcome to the Sporting Index preview of Royal Ascot 2021. What a top class 5 days of action we have to look forward to. I can't wait to get stuck in, and as a result we have a top class panel to guide us through proceedings today. I'm also than you, Frankie Dettori.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm very well.
Looking forward to it?
Looking forward to it. It's my favourite week of the year. Now the Guineas and the Derby have gone and the Oaks are full steam ahead for Royal Ascot, and then the good news is the weather's going to be nice. We got 12,000 people coming, so greatly missed by everyone, and top class races from Twirls, Sprinters, Gold Cup, Handicaps, Colts, Fillies, Champion Milers. We got it all covered. It's the Olympics of horse racing, and doesn't get any better than that.
Absolutely not. Neil Channing, legend of the game. Are you as buzzing as that?
I am very excited, actually. From the age of 10, for about 8 years, I lived very close to Ascot. Used to bunk off school to go to Royal Ascot. Sometimes you'd be just quietly having a small bet. Don't try that at home, kids. And you'd look across and you might see perhaps a history teacher furtively glancing over and noticing you, and you'd both avert eyes and quickly dodge back into the crowd. Pretend it never happened.
So you're looking forward to the week as much as any of us. And Chief from Sporting Index, you're going to be guiding us through the odds, market movers, etc., etc. How are you looking forward to the week?
Honestly, this is our sort of big week. Cheltenham and Royal Ascot, as Frankie said, it's the Olympics. It's a week we do need to make a profit so we can pay our ambassador. But the problem is, if our ambassador has a good week, then we'll have a terrible week, so we'll see.
Catch-22 going on.
It is Catch-22, but obviously Frankie's a great friend and I wish him the best.
That's kind of you.
Thank you, Chief.
Do you think he really means that?
Not really.
Okay, well, let's kick straight on then with the first race, the Queen Anne, Group 1 to start proceedings. And let's be honest, Frankie, if this doesn't go well for you, it's a bad start to the week. Palace Pier looks a cut above everything else at the moment in the division.
Look, I love the horse. He's rated 125. He's one of the best horses in the world. Very exciting first race. He's beaten most of the horses in the field already, apart from Order of Australia, is it?
Yeah.
Then he's never raced against. He's done nothing wrong, little wrong, but actually he's won his comeback race. He won the Lockage. And look, the Group 1s, the Royal Ascot, always are to win, but, touch wood, if it turns up, it'd be probably my best ride of the week. So I'm really hoping that he's going to kick off the week for me. And yeah, look, he's 2-1 on for a reason, because he's a good horse.
Big shout, best ride of the week. I mean, for me, I feel like he's the best of a pretty moderate miling division at the moment. And we can only see what we see on the track, but you obviously get a proper feel of the horse. You've ridden a lot of world-class horses. Does he feel like a world-class horse?
Well, it was very obvious watching the Lockage, what he did between the 2 and the 1. I mean, he put 5 lengths on a decent field, and it took me by surprise, because usually he hits a flat spot, but he didn't that day. So he's only run 8 times. He's still learning about the game, and look, he's done nothing wrong. He's won a St James's Palace. He's won a Lockage, and he's only got beaten once because he lost the shoe. And so I got good hopes, and he's 2-1 on for a reason, because he's a very, very good horse.
Rattling fast ground a concern?
It's a concern, because most of his wins have been on good or soft. He's got a little bit of a round action, but they do a great job at Ascot, and he's on the collar. Well, that helps horses with a bit of a knee action. And it's the first race, so you expect the ground to be perfect.
Neil Channing, are we with or against Palace Pier?
Well, I'm going to be against, because, I don't really want to bet too on about something that there is a small doubt. There's got to be a doubt about the ground. I think, given that the Derby meeting, there was a bit of a hiccup with the watering and then the rain, you kind of feel like Chris Nicholls is not going to put loads of water on, but they tend to water at Ascot in the run-up, so that if it does, if it is a scorcher all week, they don't have really fast ground on Friday and Saturday. So I guess if you've got a horse where you are a bit doubtful about the ground, it's best if it's on day one. I mean, it's rated 125. The next bunch are kind of 116, 117. So, of course, it must be a hot favourite. The bookies always, they tend to have, lots of enticing offers to get you for the week. And this would be one that people will be putting in multiples. I'll play each way. I mean, I feel like people always say the Queen Anne is a weaker renewal and that the milers and all that. I stumbled across Eve Johnson-Houghton's Accidental Agent a few years ago, and that gave me a good start to the meeting. But there was a horse that finished second that year, very unlucky, Lord Glitters for David O'Mara, and that won the race in 2019, having been unlucky second in 2018. I think I'm going to back that each way. I could definitely back Lope Fernandez each way. I feel like I've followed that horse off the cliff. It's been really unlucky at least 3 times in its career. Hated the soft ground and the lockage, really wants faster ground. I'd much rather have that than Order of Australia of the 2 Aidan horses. Order of Australia's been off 200 days, whereas Lope Fernandez has run quite recently, running the lockage. And maybe James Tate's horse, Top Rank as well. I think that's quite solid, come 3rd or 4th quite a lot of the time here. Finished 3rd in the lockage, and but it wouldn't surprise me if Frankie won the race, and of course I'd be happy for it.
Oh, look at that. So much support.
He's only saying that because I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. He's only saying that because you're here. Chief, okay, so what price? Lord Glitters, Top Rank?
First of all, there'd be nothing better than with crowds, 12,000 there, Frankie winning the first, start the week off, put a smile on everyone's faces. Everyone's accas will still be alive, after that race. But the money we've seen actually mainly on that race has been for Order of Australia today. We haven't seen much money yet long-term in Royal Ascot, but this is a horse that's been back from 8s into 6s. So that's one. Neil's one he's interested in. Lope Fernandez will like the ground better. We're 10-1. Lord Glitters, there's some 25s around. I'm afraid we have clipped it. I think the trading room must have a mic into here listening. We've clipped it to 16s, I'm afraid, Neil. So
very shrewd.
And Top Rank, 20-1.
Some bigger price fancies there. We all want Frankie to win fundamentally, though.
I definitely do.
Let's move on to the Coventry, where this is a race where historically kind of makes stallions, basically. But this time around, the favourite is a filly in this Wesley Ward's Coffee Maker. I know, Frankie, you don't ride because Johnny Velasquez is over, but...
Vanessa, shouldn't you put on your Brooklyn accent and say Coffee Maker?
Coffee Maker, Coffee Maker. I probably should do, yeah, sorry, I'm terribly British now. You have an inside track with the Wesley Ward team. I know you're not riding this, but what do you know about her and why is he running her in this?
I've been with Wesley the last couple of days. Reading between the lines, it seems he's very keen on this filly. He thinks it's his best shot of winning. I'm very puzzled why is he running the Coventry instead of riding in one of the fillies races. But he thinks he's that good. I looked at the race. You can name 5, 6, 7 horses in the race that can win it. There is no standout Tweedle out there at the moment, and you got to listen to what Wesley says. If he thinks this filly's that good to take on the Colts, then we got to listen. And to me, she's going to be the favourite.
How many of Wesley's horses that have come over have you sat on already, Frankie?
Basically, I'll be riding just Campanelle, and I rode the Kingston runner.
And what do they? They'll do a big workout on Saturday, will they?
No, listen. Most of the horses that shipped over last week, and then they're just doing short work at the moment, just taking them over for the big meeting next week. They usually get them fit over there, and when they come over, just do routine work.
Has Coffee Maker been strong in the market, or are people a bit dubious about this filly running against the Colts?
It's the betting's very, very open here. It's generally 7-2. We're 7-2. It's fairly strong 7-2. But after that, you got Meseta at 6-1, Gisborne 7-1, Cadamosto 8-1, the Acropolis 8-1. Frankie's ride Tolstoy. There's a bit of money for that, probably because Frankie's riding at 14-1. Have you got a strong view here, Neil?
I can't say I've got a strong view. I would say if you are someone that's going to be tempted by Coffee Maker, I did see Kevin Blake was saying Wes Ward's had 18 runners at 6 furlongs and above at Ascot, and only 2 of them have ever placed. All of his Ascot winners have come over 5 furlongs. And of course, you know, we've seen that before. They take the races by the scruff of the neck. They're like quarter horses. They run flat out 4.5 furlongs and then hopefully hang on.
Frankie's laughing.
I wonder, is that a fair way of saying it?
I like the way you said a quarter.
I actually thought you were laughing at the point he was making rather than his.
Just openly laughing at me. I get used to that. I can get that at home, you know.
Yeah, just ridiculing your point.
But also bear in mind that the last few years it's been soft ground.
That's true.
And them American horses are not used to it.
That's true.
You know, so you can put that in consideration.
So if you had to guess, you would say this could be one of his best years?
I'll be honest with you, if I was Wesley, I would run in against the fillies because, you know, he's no point, she's not going to be a stallion. So why take the easier option?
Do you think he's trying to prove a point, though? That he's
probably.
got horses that can run. He's not a one-trick pony. He can get horses to run over further.
Well, I think maybe because he's never won the Coventry. So
does it needle him a bit that people say stuff that I just...
Well, maybe because, like I said, he's never won the Coventry.
Yeah.
So he, you know, it was... And
he wants to collect the set.
He wants to run his best horse there.
Yeah.
But listen, you know, he's rode 11 races at Royal Ascot, so he's not a fool. He's not.
No, I've got.
So if he runs it there, it's because.
I would say from a betting point of view, if you were interested in Coffee Maker, I think surely you've got to bet it to win rather than each way though, because I think it is a kind of win or blowout. You know, if it doesn't really get home. If it blasts out and then, you know, the cavalry are coming, it could get swamped up and finish 7th or something like that. The one that interests me at a bigger price, there's a horse of Clive Cox's called Katura. I love Clive Cox, especially in these sprint races, the 2-year-old races. It was 6-4 as an unraced horse running in a Newmarket maiden and was a slightly disappointing 4th. And then it absolutely hacked up at Bath. I know that you wouldn't get too many horses coming from Bath into top group races at Ascot, but and that was over 5. But what price can you give me that one, Chief?
33 to 1, Neil.
Well, we may do business. We'll have a quiet word later.
Neil just smashing it out the park with these big priced horses.
It's worth saying at the moment that these races are of 50 odds. Come today, there'll probably be more places. And
that's true. That is true. The Coventry is generally a race where bookmakers offer 4 places on the day. So if you are going to rush in, maybe you know, maybe it's better to wait for the day.
Let's move on to the Speedballs and the King's Stand. Batash making his comeback. I am nervous for him. He's a 7-year-old now. The ground's going to be fast. He's had this fracture. He's had a setback. Frankie, how would you beat Batash? How do you beat a sprinter like that? Is he beatable on his reappearance here, back in a Group 1?
Well, look, every horse is beatable, but I'm standing by him. I think, listen, they were running if they knew it was 100%. To get sprinters fit is not as hard to get long-distance horses fit. I think the horse, the last couple of years, has turned the corner. It's much easier to handle the stalls and going to the start and all that carry on. I'm going to stick to him.
In terms of like horses having a long time off though, like trainers are just better these days, aren't they? Like you see horses come back from 200-300 days off way more often, run good races than used to.
I agree, especially with the gallops, with the facilities.
Yeah, exactly.
With the technology, with the vets, with everything.
And what about, like, you know, he's got the fella Bob that used to look after him, he's retired. The lady that rides him at home, I think she broke her ankle, someone else's. Does any of that make any difference, do you think?
I'm sure he's got some good replacement. I'm not going to leave him there to himself.
Staffing's not that much of an issue.
You know, he's got some young pretenders. He's got Oxted. He's got, you know,
and also the age.
I'm interested.
What about the age of the horse? I mean, I know you get better every year, but you know, this horse is knocking on a bit now. It can't be at its best every year, surely. Does that worry you?
It doesn't worry me, no, because sprinters they run shorter and the longevity is more. I'm a big fan of the horse. What he did at York is just, you know, it was amazing. So I'm going to stick to it.
Chief, what price is Frankie's ride, Arecibo?
Arecibo. Batash, by the way, we are top price 2 to 1. Generally 7-4, 13 to 8 in the market.
Satchel, Chief. That's the idea.
Well, I think this is one our traders want to take on, and you know, good luck to them. I think
It does look quite a competitive race, though, doesn't it? I mean, Winter Power, I think, will be very popular. Of Tim Easterby's, a filly getting the 3-year-old, so getting the 3-year-old allowance and the filly's allowance. That's a lot of weight.
I'll come to that. Arecibo is 25-1.
Got to step up, surely, Frankie.
Listen, we are not under the illusion that we're going to go there to try. Well, of course we're going to try to win, but it's got a lot to find on realistic form. But look, if we get a piece of it, we'll be happy.
And Wes Ward's got Maven as well in the race.
Yeah, I actually sat on him on Saturday. He seems in good form. Again, he's a Wesley Ward sprinter. You got to take notice. And
Ryan's riding a horse that's is trained by an Irish guy in America.
Brendan, yeah.
Yeah, Brendan.
Brendan used to work at Godolphin and he's moved to America. He's done...
Extravagant Kid is the horse.
He's been a very successful trainer, yeah. He won in Dubai, but that was over... Was it 5 or 6? 6.
Yeah, they say it once the stiff track will really suit and it comes off a fast pace. Yeah, I think it's... Because is that a possible doubt with Batash that, you know, this really stiff track may not be as great for it as some of the other places where it sprints over the year?
Look, I think it was meeting Blue Point where it was top of his game most of the time.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, it wasn't last, he was second. So, in fairness, he didn't do too much wrong.
So, Neil, who are you with then in this Winter Power?
Well, I'm going to play each way. I bet Liberty Beach each way last year.
Okay.
It was a 3-year-old then. This is John Quinn's horse. I noticed Sean Quinn was saying it goes on any ground, but to my reading of the form, faster ground is what it really wants. And, you know, the horse can improve from 3 to 4. It's got quite a bit to find on ratings, but I think it's definitely an improver. And, you know, it came out and won, I can't remember, was it the Temple Stakes? Yeah, I think it's on the up, basically. That would do for me each way. I like Oxted a little bit as well. Did you say you liked Oxted?
Yeah, I do. I think he can bounce back to his best on good ground.
He's been a little bit disappointing, hasn't he? But
he has. But Kieran Fallon back on.
Yeah.
Bit of decent ground. We're all a fan of Roger Teal. I'd be rooting for him, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I like that shot of Roger running up the July course, chasing his horse. I could have beaten him there.
With me riding it.
Okay, well, I think we're divided opinions then for the King's Stand. Let's move on to the St James's Palace Stakes, where we get to see the 3-year-old miling division again. Poetic Flair, just been rocking up to every party thus far. Tough as teak, seemingly. Probably should have 2 guineas next to his name, potentially even 3, you might make a case for. What do you reckon? What sort of form do these 3-year-old milers bring in at this stage? How have the guineas been riding, in your opinion?
Well, he's been the rock solid foremost. And Jim Bolger, one of his interviewers, he said that the ground in France was too soft for him. He didn't do too much wrong, and he brings the best form of this year to the table. And you couldn't kick him out of the 3. And then you can make a case of some of the others. I'm riding the Joseph O'Brien.
Thunder Moon.
That he's probably got the best twin of form last year. He bombed out in Newmarket, finished last, so you know you can put a line through that. But I'm very pleased with my ride, and then yeah, he looks.
He was very colty in the prelims, and he really liked the fast ground here.
Yeah.
You rode. You ruined my household, sadly. Mm-hmm. I was very much on battleground in the Guineas. How does that? When you got the ride for that, because Ryan was on Wembley.
Yes.
Presumably they thought Wembley was the better horse. Did Ryan get the choice, or did Aidan?
I really don't know, but I was very pleased with my ride, and I thought.
And then they made yours favourite.
Yeah, I thought I had a shot. You know, looking at last year's form, and you know, Newmarket's got them ridges, and it's such a big horse, and I hit one of them ridges wrong, and I was completely off balance from halfway, and there ran no race. I mean,
but if you weren't riding Thunder Moon in the St James's Palace, would you pick Battleground as an alternative if you could pick any horse?
I would pick the Bolger horse.
The favourite, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. He's got a lot of questions to answer after Newmarket. Yeah. So Battleground. So
you've got the 2-year-old form with Thunder Moon.
Yeah.
I like the potential of Battleground. I just think physically in his breeding, I'm hoping he can bring a stronger level of form that obviously we've seen this season. He's going to come on for that Guineas run. Who do you like in it?
I think it's hard. It's a really hard race. It's like an Irish race, isn't it, really? I'm going to probably back Lucky Vega of Jesse Harrington's. It's going off to Australia after this last run in the UK.
Yeah.
It's been a bit unlucky from time to time, but I don't think this is a race to play each way in. I think it's going to be really competitive through the field kind of race with it wouldn't surprise me if Battleground bounced back. Wouldn't surprise me if Frankie's horse bounced back. You know, obviously you can forget that Newmarket run. It's wide open, tough race.
Moster Daff, is it? Brings in their sort of potential.
The Gosden horse, yeah. I'm not so keen on that. Do you know much about that horse, Frankie?
No, I never rode him, but I raced with him at Sandown, and he came from last in a
on soft ground. Yeah.
On soft ground in a good race. Well, it was very hard to do that day, and he comes in with a profile like Palace Pier last year. He won a handicap. Well, this one won a listed race. And so he's the dark horse in the race. He's the one that he could go all the way up. So, you gotta really respect him.
Wide open affair. What's the betting saying, Chief?
Well, Poetic Flair is 3-1 favourite with us. Mustardaf, the dark horse, as you say, 4-1. Highland Avenue, some nibbles for that, 11-2. Lucky Vega, Niels Pickers, 7-1. Battleground, 7s everywhere. Hannon's horse, Chindit, which we haven't talked about, which I saw work the other day, did a nice piece of work actually at Richards, 8-1. Wembley, 10-1. Thundermoon, Frankie's Ride, 14-1.
That's a big price. I think I'll have to back Frankie as well. That won't go off 14-1, will it? That's got to be shorter.
Not when he's already won 3 races on the day. And
the Frankie factor. The Frankie factor,
yeah.
There's no way that would be 14-1.
No, you're probably right there.
It'll be part of Acker's as well, and obviously Frankie's won the first, hasn't he?
Let's move on to the Wolferton Stakes, the listed race. Frankie, just a quick word. You ride Forest of Dean, pretty exposed individual at the moment, looking to bring his all-weather form in. Yeah,
it's probably one of the hardest races to ride. It's be 20 runners, all more or less rated the same, all 4-year-old and up. It's all about the draw, the pace, who gets the splits. He's in there with a shout, but you couldn't say he's going to win or not going to win. So it's one of them races you got to ride it as it comes, and all things go right.
Do you have a fancy in that, Neil?
I have to confess, it's not a race I've looked at a lot, but just on the draw, last year at Ascot was quite soft, and it was obvious from early on in the meeting that the stand side had a big advantage. Do you think on just fast ground it's pretty fair track, or if you had to pick between a high or a low in a 6 furlong sprint, which would you? Well,
I think when the ground was going to be like good to firm, it's completely makes no odds. It's the pace. It depends where the pace is and the good horses are. I mean, you can ride a good horse in the side, then there is no pace, and you're completely out of the race. So you need the combination of the two. I won races from either side, especially.
Also on that as well with the pace, people say. Obviously we consider you to be the best jockey at Ascot, but some people say Jamie Spencer is the best jockey at Ascot because he can come from he likes to come from off the pace wherever he rides, and at Ascot that seems to work better. And Jim Crowley a little bit last year, he had a brilliant meeting, and he does a little bit the same. Do you feel like this is a track that suits? Is that because of the stiffness of the track and the fast pace of the races that sometimes the pace collapses and those coming from behind have an edge?
It's upper hill, it's Royal Ascot, and everybody gets a little bit...
They get carried away.
Get a little bit more excited, they put a foot on the accelerator a bit earlier. And, if you manage to practice the accelerator 50 yards too early, the hill's going to catch you out.
So do you think
it's quite hard in that big fields to make the running and winning,
You think for punters at home they should avoid the front runners and back the hold-up horses a bit more?
It's harder to win from the front in a straight track in a big field because of those, people get excited and take you on a bit early and you just set you up for the closers and that's most of the time is the case.
So that gives
but it's possible to do, but like I said, it's
but also, do you think that gives an advantage to you? I won't say you older jockeys, you more experienced jockeys, you wiser jockeys.
Let's say yes. It makes it sound good.
Neil, any other fancies for the day?
I do. Well, having said we need an older and wiser jockey, I go for a young lady. I'm a massive Holly Doyle fan. And she's got a ride in the Copper Horse Stakes. George Bowie is having a brilliant season, and he's got a horse called Lostwithiel in the last race of the day. It's a 1 mile 6 handicap. The horse is running off 96, and he was talking about putting it in the Ascot Stakes, so presumably it's a future Cheltenham Gold Cup horse or something. But this horse, I did actually back it last time. It was a bit disappointing, but I got the impression it was all systems go for this Copper Horse handicap.
Well handicapped horse, red hot team. What price, Chief?
About 16 to 1. Plenty of that around.
Neil knocking it out the ballpark.
Well,
on
so
day
far,
one.
it's very easy to see the results.
Well played, he's peaked, Neil.
One of the few races that's a quarter the odds at the moment as well. So.
Well, that's the bit I'm looking forward to.
Right, that wraps up day one. Let's move on to day two, which starts with the Queen Mary. Got a couple of Wesley Ward horses in there. I think Twilight Gleaming is the horse that he's picked to actually run here. 1 from 1 for Wesley Ward. Frankie, any knowledge on the Wesley Ward horse at this stage?
Not really, no. I'll be honest with you.
Okay, good to know.
I'm not riding for Wesley, but I'm riding an American horse. What Warning Keelan beating the Colts by a short head. What's the name of it, Chief?
Artos.
Artos, how much do you know?
Ollie watched the video. Like I said, she beat one of Wesley's in a turf race, Colt. Again, look, it'd be 25 runners. They all have the same profile, maiden winners.
Happier to be on an American horse at this stage.
Yeah, listen, I won it with Capanella, Lady Aurelia, and a few others. So it's been a lucky race for me, and I'm pleased to ride an American horse because they know their job. They like fast ground.
Do you genuinely think they have an edge over this sort of race over the UK horses and the Irish horses?
Well, when you look back, Acapulco was a machine, Lady Aurelia was a machine, Campanelle was a machine. I mean, it doesn't matter who trains it. I mean, if when the horse is good, and he wins. So, but you go into the race and, we didn't know Lady Aurelia was that good. I didn't know Campanelle was that good. But so you will find out after the race. So I really don't know. I really don't know.
Is it partly because in the UK we have like colder springs and they have nice
Probably,
weather earlier in the year?
Yeah, and there's.
Or do you think it's down to more like the way they train them?
I really don't know. Gate speed, fast ground. Maybe they train him early. I really don't know. But Wesley's been doing incredible, really. Like you said, he's never won a 6 furlong race, but he's won plenty of 5.
He's certainly.
But like the horses that I mentioned, they were proper beasts. You know what I mean?
The gate speed thing you say is interesting though, because I see there was that thing with Peter Moody saying that he was messing around saying that Australian trainers are better than UK trainers.
Was he messing around?
Well, it was kind of.
I think it was a little bit of a dig there.
I was having a little bit of a dig, but I mean, it is kind of widely accepted that American trainers are better at getting their horses to gun out of the gate.
It's all about.
Why haven't we managed to learn that trick?
Because our races are look, they're a lot longer. If you teach a horse how to blaze out from the beginning, and if you want to go over 5, 6, 7 or a mile,
you don't get the longer career.
You won't be able to get them back. You teach an horse to do something at the beginning, then to re-undo that knot is much harder than teaching. And but in America and Australia, it's all about speed. And if you don't jump, you come out of it straight away. And they have an edge. When I ride for Wesley, usually his instruction is just hold on. There is no try to get cover. His system is just hold on, and they'll do the rest.
You said earlier that you didn't realise a horse like Lady Aurelia was that good. So when she jumps out and shows that much early speed, are you literally just holding on thinking, my God, this is going...
Yeah, and also, I've rode horses Wesley. Don't forget that they're running on a straight track here. In America, they always turn in left. So some 2-year-olds, they're going flat out waiting for the bend, but the bend never comes because you're going straight and they burn themselves out. But then you get clever horses like Lady Aurelia was, that she can go flat out for 2, but then slow down and then kick again. You need a horse that is also play balls with you. But some young horses in Wesley I've brought and I have rode, I blazed for 3 furlongs and died because they were going so fast to get to the bend, but it was no bend. and they run themselves into the ground.
Very interesting. Neil, are you with either American horse here, or are you sticking with the Brits?
I did watch the Wesley horse Twilight Gleaming. It won about 8 lengths, I think, at Belmont. Yeah, I mean, it just looked like a kind of typical Wes Ward, very fast out and just got on with it, very professional. He said the fast ground will really help it. It would be a worry. I don't think I would back it. I tend to always be against his horses, actually, at Ascot.
The only won 11.
It's
only won 11.
I've had the odd loser. Doing that.
Neil.
I mean, I said before how much I like Clive Cox. He's got one here, Get Ahead. It's only run once before, but it was over course and distance. It was 6-1 that day, and it won. I think I would probably be quite tempted by that. Aidan's got one called Yet, which is a Warfront colt. My knowledge of breeding is not brilliant, but my memory tells me that Warfront horses, they like fast ground. Is that right?
Correct. 10 points to Neil Channing.
There you go. God, I knew I'd get one right eventually. So, you know, they particularly like fast ground though. I kind of think that's quite interesting. And my stable that I really like to follow is George Bowie. They've got one here as well, Beautiful Sunshine, which won a race at Sandown. It's going to be hard to stop me backing that, I think. Andrew Balding's also got one. I would worry about that on the ground a little bit if it's very fast. Nymphadora, yeah.
I really like her.
I think that might prefer a bit more cut in the ground. I don't know what gave me that impression. A lot of Andrew's horses do, I think.
Fair comment. What price Nymphadora?
8-1. Solid 8-1. Wesley's unsurprisingly, his favourite, 11-4 everywhere.
And what price was that? Beautiful Sunshine, Chief?
Beautiful Sunshine is quite weak in the market, 12-1.
Oh, well, I haven't seen the actual deck, so, you know, maybe it isn't a certain...
I think it probably is a runner. Is that for Ammo Race?
George Bowie's got a couple that could have gone for this, and he's got a couple that could have gone for the Windsor Castle.
There appears to be now, we are Thursdays, we're recording this, plenty of money for Frankie's horse Artos, which is 10s into 17-2. When I say plenty of money, at this stage, it doesn't take that much. It doesn't take that much money to change prices at this particular moment. But, I'll be honest about that. Others may not be, but I promise you it doesn't take too much at this stage.
Okay, let's move on to the Queen's Vase, the Group 2 next. Frankie, what do you ride in the Queen's Vase?
Store? I'll probably Store. I mean, we got 4 in.
Yeah.
I think I'm leaning towards... what's his proper name? Store, is it?
Stull.
Stull, yeah.
There we go. It seems like...
That was the horse that kind of could have won at Lingfield and didn't. It was controversial. Rab Havlin got suspended.
Correct.
And then came out and won...
he won a 3-horse race at Ascot.
At odds on, and pretty easily.
Yeah, you know, he did all his best work at the end. Man in 6 years suit. I mean, listen, all them horses in the Queen's Vase, the reason are there because they weren't fast enough for the Derby. So, you know, they just lack a gear. And again, usually Aidan's got the mop hand because he's got the Galileos and he's got so many stairs. And yeah, he's the one that you have to be afraid of.
Yeah.
He wins every year, really.
Let's move on to the Duke of Cambridge then, the Group 2 for the fillies. Lady Bowthorpe, I think, tops proceedings here, ran a blinder behind Palace Pier that day. She's so consistent. She's a very cool filly, isn't she? She
was very good the run in Newmarket and in the Lockage. Bear in mind, this is going to be 2 different grounds. I mean, we were going in knee deep in the Lockage, and it's going to be good to firm come the Wednesday of Ascot. I think she brings by far the best form. If she acts on the ground, I think she'll win.
Does Indie Angel go there for the Gosden team?
She's going. I'm riding her. She's a long shot.
A bit disappointing.
She's not easy.
Okay.
She's not easy. When things fall right, she can be very good, but most of the time they don't. You know, she needs to. You know, a lot of things needs to go right. But she's a long shot, and if we can get a piece of it, we'll be happy.
She wears a hood, and when you say a lot of things need to go
right, she wears the hood. She's fun in the stores. She needs a bit of space. She did you know. Typical woman, complicated.
Not straightforward. Not straightforward.
I knew I'd get.
I'm sure that was covered.
I know. I'm actually a very straightforward individual myself. I wouldn't need a hood. Are you with or against Lady Bowthorpe? I think one of the stories of the meeting.
I absolutely love Lady Bowthorpe. I also think her owner is
Emma Banks.
I don't know her, but she seems such a lovely lady.
Amazing lady.
She seems really great. I managed to back Lady Bowthorpe at Newmarket when Ryan got a beat off 85. I don't know how he'd managed that. But I do love Lady Bowthorpe. The second favourite is Michael Stout's Queen's Power. Now that's a funny old horse, isn't it? She seems to be. I mean, she's brilliant in that she always at least comes second or third. But she's only had 3 wins from 11 runs. She won last time at 6-4 in a Group 2. Pulls really hard and sometimes just looks like she doesn't totally want to get a hit in front. Actually bolted up last time at York, perhaps in not a brilliant Group 2. I sort of think with those two taking such a chunk out of the market, and also, what Frankie said about the ground for Lady Bowthorpe, even though I sort of like Chris Wall's Double or Bubble, who won handicaps off 85, 91 and is now rated 101 and is obviously running in a stakes race here. I guess I can't really back her each way. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I end up with Jessica Harrington's, I can't remember what it's called now. Is it Valeria Missalina? Is that how you say it?
14-1 now.
I think that really wants quick ground, I think. And I could end up, that might be where I end up, but I don't know. I would be happy if Lady Bowthorpe won, even if I hadn't backed her, because I just think she's a good story and she's nice.
You do have a heart after all.
I do. My cold
The horse
heart.
I'd like to see winning here called Onassis, because I'm parked in Stanley's for all 5 days. Stanley's in Chelsea all 5 days, and one of the owners is Hugh Stanley's father, Peter Stanley, New England stud. So I'd love to see that.
It won here. Did it win at the Royal Meeting before?
Onassis, it was last year.
Yeah, last year, yeah.
Good stories left, right and centre in the Duke of Cambridge. Let's move on to the Prince of Wales Stakes, big race of the day. And Frankie, you're aboard Lord North, obviously won it last year. Just to start with, what sort of form is he in? We haven't seen him sort of in the last few weeks or months.
Yeah, it's good. He won the Prince of Wales last year. A massive win in Dubai. He was in a vintage Dubai turf, but he won in great style. I've seen Dylan O'Brien has put love in the race in Armory and Japan, and it'd be very interesting if love runs or not, because she was the standout also last year, won the Oaks by 9 lengths, won the Yorkshire Oaks, won the Guineas by 4. Armory done nothing wrong. Usually the Prince of Wales is one of the hardest races to win, because it's usually a small field but very selective. And I like my boy, but it's no penalty kick. He's got to run at his highest rating, and especially with the competition that he's got in front of him.
Obviously, you won the Prince of Wales last year, and then you referenced the Maidan win. The 2 runs in between were ultimately pretty disappointing from him. What has to go right for him or wrong for him? He's not rock solid, so what does he actually need? Because that Prince of Wales' run was, the finish was a little odd, and the way in which he finished with that sort of extraordinary burst of speed.
Yeah, listen, I rode the filly in the race. Look, I won the Cambridgeshire of bottom weight and absolutely sleuthed in. And he went from strength to strength, and then he bombed out in the Champion Stakes when he was this deep. Then we tried the mile and a half in America, and it was a bridge too far, but he ran all right 4th. And I like the way that he recaptured his form in the Prince of Wales. But like I said, is one of the hardest races to win, because 4-year-old man or quarter, all the best of Europe are there, and yeah, it's going to be tough. You can name 3, 4 or 5 horses in the race, what they can be a danger.
Would you swap him for Love if you could?
Of course not.
Okay, I'm just asking. Some people would.
No, I wouldn't.
No.
She's going back to man and quarter. She hasn't run for a year and a bit. So I'm sticking with my boy.
Sticking with your boy. It's one of my favourite races of the meeting. The staying, the speed that's needed. I absolutely love this race. Where are you going with this, Neil?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I think they declare for this on Sunday morning, and there's 13 runners at the moment. 5 are trained by Aidan O'Brien. I think this race could really cut up. If you have an anti-post bet before that declaration, I don't know how early people will be watching this. You're going to get the 3 places, and I think there's a chance that this race has 6 or 7 runners actually by the time we get round to it, and you still have 3 places if you get in early. It's kind of weird, isn't it? We're halfway through Wednesday. Nobody's mentioned my favourite stable, or one of my favourite stables, who are having a blinding year as well. Willie Haggis, he's having a brilliant year, but we haven't mentioned a single runner of his yet because, he doesn't target Ascot as much as he targets York, perhaps. He's got a Dabe in here and my Oberon. They both want soft ground. I think he said this morning that a Dabe probably won't run. I see James Fanshawe, he's got the Breeders' Cup filly and mare winner, Oderia. He said that's probably going to go to the Pretty Polly, not probably going to run in this. I don't think Aidan's going to have 5 runners in this. I think it could have like 6 or 7 runners and really cut up. In which case, if you're on, perhaps on Armoury at sort of 7-2, 3-1, that could end up being 9-4 in a 5-runner race, and you're on 3 places at 7-2. Sorry, that sounds like a really dirty bet, doesn't it? I'm really sorry about that.
Very.
Not one for the accounts. That one, perhaps.
I remember at Cheltenham preview, someone described you as a very dirty man, Neil.
It can happen. Look, we all have to eat, don't we? At the end of the day.
Just keep the money now.
I think there are some races. There are some races where I can be happy if Lady Bowthorpe wins, and I think the owner seems a lovely lady. There are other races where I just need to get my crust for the day, and I think this will be one of those races. I think I could easily be on Armour each way. Yeah.
Okay, you're forgiven for your dirty each way bet. That's absolutely fine. Any moves or shakers over there in the market, Chief?
So Lord North, we're 6-4, Love 2-1, which I believe definitely runs. Armoury, we are 11-4. Again, the traders are listening to you, Neil. It was 7-2. Adabe 8-1. Adaraya 10-1.
I'd be amazed if Adabe runs, actually, to be honest. And Adaraya. Yeah, I don't think either of those will run.
So there we go.
Save your money. Save your money from those ones.
Well, that's the highlight of day 2. Then goes on to the Royal Hunt Cup and the Windsor Castle, actually. Do you pick up the ride on Napa Spirit?
Yes.
In that? Yeah? Yes. What do you know?
I don't know too much about it. I watched the video this morning. Was odds-on favourite runner, Keelan, won nicely. Didn't won by 10 lengths. He won by a couple. Wesley, 5 furlong, 2-year-old. So respect him.
1 from 1, Wesley, 5 furlong, 2-year-old. We've been here already on this preview. Any fancies in the Windsor Castle for you, Neil?
Well, I mean, I've said already, I'm such a George Bowie
Are you being paid by him?
Honestly, I'm such a total fanboy. He's just amazing, isn't he?
But why are you a fanboy of George Bowie? Because he's kind of like...
they always seem
to run a race. Follow us in training.
Yeah. He gets an inside track.
He does have a lot of 2-year-old winners, though, doesn't he? He's got an incredible strike rate.
George doesn't like Wesley. I don't know what's
Wesley's trained 11 winners at the Royal meeting. George Bowie's
much as I love Frankie, and he's absolutely one of my favourites, I do feel sorry for one fella who, I think he's got appendicitis now, but he got big kicking before them. I'm a massive Ross Orion fan, and of course he rides the horses for George Bowie. And the combo, I particularly like the combo. George Bowie's got one in here, I think, Superior Force. Could be a front runner potentially. They think it's more of a 6 furlong horse maybe. I know we said it's harder to win over 6. From the front. But I think if you have one that stays a bit further in these 2-year-old races, that's got to be a good thing, surely.
You've got to have the ability. It comes down to that.
Never mind how far they stay. They've got to be able to go.
Well, that helps.
Yeah. Okay, well, any other fancies in the Royal Hunt Cup? Obviously, huge betting race. You must have a pick in that, surely.
I haven't had a bet in that. I had a look. I liked one much more in the Kensington Palace, actually. Ed Walker's got a couple of runners this week that people are talking about a lot, which I'm sure we'll come on to.
Ed Walker, just a note on that.
Yeah.
Last year he had 1 runner at Royal Ascot
Yeah.
and it didn't enter the stalls, whatever
That's
that yoke
right.
was.
Very unlucky.
An idiot down at the start.
Yeah.
This year he's going there with 10 horses and he's got 2 Group 1 chances.
I know, it's amazing,
and
isn't it?
loads of handicap chances. Some turnaround for the yard.
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Well, the one he's got here in the Kensington Palace, which is the last race of the day on Wednesday, which is a 1 mile handicap, is called Dream Loper. And Dream Loper has run 7 times. Has never finished worse than 4th. It's won and come second at Ascot before. It's won on Good to Firm. It's a very strong traveller. It's a bit of a keen goer. So, suitable. We'll get a fast pace because we always get a fast pace in Ascot races, so that's good. Wore the hood last time. I think when they take the hood off, the next run, I think that's a good sign. I like that. Would you agree with that, Frankie?
Don't know.
I think sometimes with the hood on first time is not a good thing.
Sometimes it backfires, because you take the hood off and then they lit up too much.
Yeah.
If they got a hood on at the beginning, it must be for a reason.
To
cancel the noise, to make him more calm. And if you take him off, when you think I've got him calm now, sometimes he can really play against you. So you don't know until the day.
Okay. He's put me off now. But it was a big eye catcher 2 runs ago at Haydock. Last time it was beaten a short head, course and distance. They did put it up £5 for getting beaten a short head, which is a slight blow, but you can't have everything. It's running off 96. I really like it.
Okay, well, I think that draws the curtain down on day 2, unless you have anything else to add, Frankie, Neil?
Shall I give you my handicap stat that I picked?
Are you going to roll it out now, are you?
Do you want me to roll it out now? Yes. I can save it if you want.
No, go for it.
I saw a stat which I thought was quite interesting. Horses with a penalty in handicaps at Royal Ascot, the last 52 have only produced 2 winners. If you had a pound level stakes on the 52, you'd be losing £28. I think the theory is that if you've got a penalty, obviously it means you ran quite recently, and perhaps you need a bit of time to recover in order to run a race at Ascot where the races are so competitive. That's the theory. Or the alternative theory is that the handicaps are so competitive that just that extra £3, £7, it's just can be just too much.
I'll tell you what, great that. I'm not going to call for anyone with the horse with a penalty.
Did you think that stat was worth waiting for?
Yeah, why not? It was interesting because you never thought that, would you?
I didn't know that, no.
56 runners, 2 winners.
Two from 52.
Yeah.
Another 10 points to Neil Channing.
There you go.
The curtain draws.
That's twice today I've scored high.
Yeah, well done. That does draw to a close at day 2. Let's move on to the Thursday, huge day for you, Frankie Dettori, which we'll get to in due course. But the Norfolk Stakes kicks things off. Basically just a load of 1-from-1 2-year-olds again at this stage, and Wesley Ward, I think, has a couple in there, as you would expect. What's the betting saying, Chief?
Well, betting at the moment, it's got Lychee at 5-1, it's wide open. Cadamosto 6-1, Armour 8-1, Nakatomi 8-1. We don't know if all these are running, by the way. Ebro River 10-1, Instinctive Move 16-1. Frankie, I don't think you're riding this race, are you?
No, Wesley, she's only got 1. And
Nakatomi, which a Sheen would ride, I think.
Yeah,
Is that
and
right?
the moment I got nothing.
Get a lion.
Call me.
Available.
I'm here.
Neil, any fancies in that?
Not hugely. I listened to a thing the other day, and he said that Nakatomi really liked the grass when he'd worked.
Let me guess.
George Bowie? Nakatomi. I was thinking, does George Bowie have a runner in
George Bowie does have a runner, yeah.
There we
He's got Novello, which ran 3rd in the National Stakes, a bit disappointing. But that was on that horrible ground that night, and he seems to think that will be a different horse. And my old mate Clive Cox has got one as well. He's got Instinctive Move, which again won a Bath Maiden. Maybe there's going to be 2 horses coming straight from Bath to Royal Ascot. It could be good for Bath. I like Bath. I've always liked Bath.
Highest racecourse in the country.
Highest racecourse in the country, trained at altitude.
There we go. Bath form coming into the Royal Ascot. If Clive Cox and George Bowie have bad meetings, you're down. It's not a good...
luckily there's always the Prince of Wales Stakes to get me out of it.
Well, yeah, and your dirty each way one. Yeah. Let's move on to the Hampton Court Stakes, the Group 3 over the mile and 2 furlongs. What do you ride in that, Frankie?
At the moment, again, I don't think we got any runners. I'm talking about the Gosden team. So, again, I'll have to wait till the entries come out. Hopefully if the Ballydole teams go 2 or 3, maybe jump in one of those.
What's the latest that anyone will generally ring you for a ride for Royal Ascot? If I'm a small trainer and I think, I tell you what, I'll try and get Frankie Dettori on my horse, what chance have I got?
No chance. No, I'm not joking. Obviously, I seem to be the man to go to Ascot, so my phone has stopped ringing. Look, I'm completely committed with John Gosden. Whatever he hasn't got a ride in the race, obviously I ride a few Wesleys in the sprints and I fill in the other gaps,
Let's move on to the Ribblesdale then, because this is an interesting race for the Group 2 for the fillies. Is Noon Star chief favourite for this for Sir Michael Stout?
It is 7-2.
Interesting, brings in the Snowfall form line.
Yep.
Just a quick word with you off the back of the Oaks win. Are we taking that literally? I mean, obviously it was incredibly impressive, but is that literal form?
Listen, he had the wow factor, but 16 lengths maybe could be exaggerated by the ground, by me being on the fence, by them going too fast, but still, she still won. She still had to run that fast. And you know what? The Musidora run was an amazing run. So I went into the race thinking, God, I can win it, And
I saw you on the telly about half an hour before the race, and they said, "Do you think you'll come over to the stand side?" And you said, "Oh no, I don't."
Oh, not correct. It's true that, but don't forget, from that race we had another race, and I was in it, right?
Oh, okay.
And the inside track.
So I thought you were bluffing a bit there.
Of course. One more riding, Chief. I forgot the name.
You are riding for Bjorn here, Gloria Mundi.
So it's a big day for us because we got Gloria Mundi and we got Stradivarius.
Yeah.
Big day for Bjorn, big day.
10-1 shot that.
Yep.
10-1 shot. Neil, who do you fancy in this, if anything?
I have to confess, it's not a race I've looked at yet.
Okay, fine. What did you make of the Oaks, just whilst we're on it, with that new...
Well, I mean, obviously, 16 lengths is phenomenally impressive, and you look back at Oaks over the years and think of, 2 or 3 I can think of where they've absolutely slooshed up. But soft ground always makes you question it a little bit. It was a wow factor though, wasn't it? It was definitely a take your breath away horse race to watch. I don't know whether you can 100% trust the form, but
well, if we are trusting
we'll find out.
Then Noon Star, who obviously finished behind her the time before, she's probably valued at, what was it, 7-2?
7-2, yeah. 7-2 all over the place, actually, yeah.
So you can see why punters have latched on to Sir Michael Stout's horse there. We've mentioned it already, and it's the main act of the day. Let's move on to the Gold Cup. Frankie, Stradivarius, going for a 4th win in the race. Coming into it at this point, how much pressure are you feeling, if any?
Lots. Look, that would be the story of the meet. Is a horse well loved. Is a stare with a turn of foot where he's unusual or unheard of. He's owned by a great man, and listen, Palace Pier be a pressure ride, but this be probably a bigger pressure ride. The whole world eyes be on this horse. He's a year older, but you know that he loves Ascot. 2 mile plus races is no problem. There is a couple of new horses in the field that I don't know how good they're going to be over that distance, but look, we got him in good order. He won his prep run, and fingers crossed, look.
When we talked about Batash, you sort of said horses getting older, I think, what's Batash, 7?
7.
Stradivarius is 7 as well.
Yeah.
But you think with a stayer, it makes less difference, the ageing, in terms of them losing their top form?
Well, look, he's trained by a great trainer, John, and if I have to have confidence riding horses with him, and I've been doing a lot of his homework, and he seems to have the same enthusiasm. As horses get older, obviously it's wear and tear, but also they get bored. But he seems to thrive.
Could this be it for Stradivarius, last race?
I really don't know. Let's see what happens on Thursday. Listen, Yates won it as an 8-year-old, so he's the only one who's done it. Look, he's even money favourite. We're all looking forward to it. And I'm scared of the Mark Johnson horse. What's his name? Simplicity.
Subjectivist.
Yes.
You're even money. I think this is going to go off slightly bigger. I think the bookies are going to come and try and get Strad. I don't know. What's your opinion there?
Well,
if you were back on the rails, would you be trying to lay this or?
Well, I mean, the Mark Johnson horse that ran quite well last year was Naif Road. That's run awful this year, hasn't it? You've got Aiden's got Santiago. That's a bit of a doubtful stayer, I would think. Alan King's got Trushan. I think that one's cut. I think if you want to lay Stradivarius, you start looking around and thinking, well, what have I got running for me? If I was minded to oppose Stradivarius, would I rather back Subjectivist each way? But then, given the way that Subjectivist is likely to race, I don't know whether I want to play each way. I'm not averse to just backing Stradivarius, actually, and I'm not a big favourite backer generally.
It's evens absolutely everywhere.
I mean, last year coming into the race, there was a lot of talk about the ground and Stradivarius. There was a lot of rain on the day, wasn't there? And
it took me by surprise, trust me.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't expect him to do what he did.
Yeah,
and
but this year, obviously, we're expecting.
I always feel that the horse is better on fast ground.
Yeah,
but then he proved me wrong.
Just, you mentioned Yates, and obviously he's the last and only horse to win 4 Gold Cups. I remember that day. I think we probably all do. It's just so significant in terms of history and the achievement of doing it. It felt at the time like it was a one-off, and now we've got this horse coming to do it again. Do you feel the sort of historic element more now with Ascot and your relationship with it than ever in terms of going there with Stradivarius?
Absolutely. Look, I feel, it will be a tremendous pressure ride. The horse is loved by everyone. Everybody loves to see the horse win. And we are so close. We've done 3, we're so close, but we still have to go over the line. And it will be a big pressure ride.
Does that make or break your week, Stradivarius?
It will be, picking my lip off the floor on Thursday if he gets beat. But, I'm human and I feel for the horse and I want to do it for him, I won 8 Gold Cups, so it's not my first time. So, but to equal a record, what we thought was never going to be near, is, we are close. So it'd be a fairy tale story.
A Stradivarius statue nicely opposite the Yates statue in the paddock.
It'd be amazing, but we're not over the line yet.
Just a quick word on Bjorn Nielsen.
Yes.
Because I think it's a part of the story that slightly goes amiss. He bred the horse. This isn't talked about that much, but he bred Stradivarius. His riding for him, I know he's a good friend of yours. Just what sort of added element does that bring in as well? Does he put much pressure on you? Does he add to the pressure at all?
He is brilliant. I like the little breeder story. He's competing with the likes of the McTombs, the Jodmonts, the Coolmores, and in his own little world, he's done something great. And he's very passionate. He's
been a real sportsman in the way he's campaigned. He hasn't missed a,
Yeah, and he's there in the morning, and you tried him. It's great. I mean, I love those kind of stories, and he's become a good friend. And if with Stradivarius, and he's good. I can't wish the guy too much luck because he deserves it.
And he's a quiet guy in front of the camera. We don't see a huge amount of him. But is he an emotional character in the winner's enclosure? What would it mean to him, I guess, to win?
I don't think he'll sleep very well from here till Thursday. He's part of it. He analyses it. He comes to the mornings. He's what owner should be like. He's part of it. He's not just the guy who pays the bills and watching on the TV. He's actually involved, and he's puts all his passion into it. It's great.
Will you be there for the final piece of work tomorrow?
Probably, yes.
6:15 in the morning. I don't know where Bjorn lives, but it's nowhere near.
It's Lambourne, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
So
the guy never sleeps.
trip.
He never sleeps, so he's just he's full on.
Yeah.
Good man.
It's a phenomenal story. I think, Neil, we've joked about you not having a heart, but you'd love to see Stradivarius win, wouldn't you?
I'm a fan of horse racing. I mean, I like the sport as a sport. People often say, don't they, could you watch horse racing if you didn't have a bet? Is it a sport that people watch without, having a kind of physical involvement, whether by owning or training or riding? I could easily watch the Gold Cup, watch Stradivarius win, not have a bet, and really enjoy it. Yeah, definitely.
Me too.
If he wins a 4th Gold Cup, he'd be on the front of the national newspapers, wouldn't he? You would have thought, I think.
Let's hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
My boss will be happy to see Sporting Index on his breeches all over the place.
Great
From a
PR.
purely selfish
Look at that,
point of
he's such a businessman, isn't he?
Well, I'd be happy for Frankie, but I know what the boss is thinking, trying to maximise it.
Yeah, like it. Right, all rooting for Stradivarius then, but you're worried about Subjectivist and you're not taking him on, basically.
I can't really find one to take him on. I
Right.
quite like Trusham, but I feel like it probably wants a bit of cut in the ground.
He ran a belter at Chester, I thought. But let's move on. A couple of 3 handicaps to round off proceedings. Just quickly, any obvious fancies for you, Frankie, in those handicaps?
I think I ride one of Lady Bamford's in the Hunt Cup. What other handicaps there?
You've got the Britannia, the King George.
I'm sure we'll have something for the Britannia, and then?
The King George V Stakes.
Yeah, I'm sure we
And the Buckingham Palace.
Nothing stick out.
No.
Them handicaps, the round course be 20 runs full field. Britannia's be 28 runners. I mean, it's draw, so many luck stories that you need. It's one of those races you have to ride with instinct because anything can happen. You can win your side and be 10x the other side. So we really don't know.
No man for a bit of
There's
instinct at Ascot.
couple of stats things on the draw in the last 2 races. The King George V is a mile and a half. It's kind of counterintuitive at Ascot. People are quite surprised to hear that a high draw is good. I remember reading in the Racing Post before last year's race, John Gosden was saying, "Oh God, we're drawn in the car park. We've got no chance." Actually, I don't know what it is. I think at the start, you start on the turn if you ride over it. Is that right? Over 1 mile 4 at Ascot?
No, you start
If you're on the
straight.
inside, you've got to kind of make ground early to get your position.
No, he's straight, but he's downhill.
Yeah.
Downhill, so it's a dogged dog. Whoever gets to the bend first. And there is no love given. Let me tell you, when you get to swing the bottom.
And then when you get to that, obviously when you get to the bell and the turn,
it's like playing pinball. It's like
it's definitely very. There's a lot of scrimmaging on the inside, and the horses that
everywhere.
fan wide, they actually tend to do really well. So double-figure draws in that race have done really well over the last 20 years, basically. And then in the 7 furlong, the single-figure draw again a disadvantage. Just on the stats, now that we're talking smallish samples with 10, 15 years of races, but I think it just must be all that scrimmaging on the inside. In the King George, there's a horse that a lot of people are talking about for Roger Varian. It's got a mark of 92 called Title. Won last time. Somebody sent me a text last night and they said it's almost like the mark they've given it is an administrative error. The horse it beat last time has been given, a way worse bit of handicapping than Title. I don't think there's any betting on the race yet, as Chief, but
No, none of these handicaps
it wouldn't
on.
surprise me to see Title go off kind of 3-1 favourite in the King George V handicap, which is kind of mental, really. Obviously, we need to see the draw, and I don't know whether I'll be queuing up to take that price, but it does look like it could have £10 higher, and you wouldn't really be complaining.
Great shout. Love it, Neil. Really, you're nailing this today, Neil. Real
Well, there you
homework
go.
done.
I mean, I thought it was going to be like one of them Cheltenham ones where we're still talking about the Supreme by now, but anyway.
No, I'm steering this good ship. We're rattling through.
We're doing well.
Thank you. That wraps up proceedings on day 3. We're all rooting for Stradivarius. Let's move on to the Friday, kick off with the Albany, and you're on the favourite again, Frankie Dettori, Flotus for Simon and Ed Crisford. Won first time out at Goodwood, and everyone waxed lyrical about this performance. And then when I actually got home to watch it that day, I saw on Twitter everyone was going mental about it, and it's all right, but it's just debutante 2-year-old winner. What's the fuss about?
Well, it's owned by a friend of mine, Ed Badminton, so it'd be a great story if I can do it for him.
Okay.
Chief?
He's a great friend of mine as well, Ed. He's
Okay.
top man. Lives just outside Newmarket. I think you'd spend a bit of time with Ed.
It
So
did
a bit of-
absolutely hack up, didn't it? But it got on the rail and it just
It
kind of
did.
scooted clear on the rail.
I mean, they've summed up the sentimental value, but just in terms of the form, it was impressive, and apparently the time was very good that day, but I was surprised by the excitement behind this horse. Have you sat on it at all? Don't know anything about it at this stage. 1 from 1 winner. Do you fancy anything else behind Flotus? George Bowie has a runner, so just...
He's got
Oscula.
He's got Oscula, the woodcut winner. In fact, he's got 2. He's got a Newmarket winner called Cachet.
Yeah.
I think he's running both of them in the Albany. I did notice, funnily, I know you said that the draw doesn't make any difference on the sprint. The last 11 Albanies have been won by a horse with a double-figure draw. So I don't.
Usually it's been O'Brien. So
Yeah. I actually quite liked. I might desert George in this race. Don't tell him.
Goodness.
See him
For a Clive Cox horse?
He's got one. He's got Crazy Land, which won in its debut at Windsor and then was 3rd in a listed race at York.
Not going via Bath, I wouldn't back it.
Didn't go to Bath. didn't go to Bath. So maybe not. And Wesley's got one. He's got Golden Bell. I don't know anything about that. But I thought Rafe Beckett's horse, Hello You, might be the one here. That was the one that interests me at the moment.
Rafe Beckett, 2-year-old.
It's a pretty competitive race, though. I don't know. Maybe
it always is.
Yeah.
Then you got to think of the horses O'Brien's going to bring over. So
I think this might be, apart from the Coventry, this might be the hardest 2-year-old race to win of the week. Actually, almost like the most wide open.
You get better fillies in the race. And the Guineas fillies. So, yeah, it's tough. Listen, I'm happy to be on the favourite, and let's hope the dream stays alive.
Dream stays alive indeed. Moving on to the King Edward, before we get to the Group 1s on this day, the King Edward, the 7th Stakes, the Group 2, Bay Bridge was put up £14 for his win, the Sir Michael Stout trained horse. Now, I think finds himself top of this betting, Chief, is that right?
Correct. It's favourite on its own at, we are 3-1. There is a bit of 7-2 in the market. So Lamorak for Aidan is 4-1, and then Alan Kerr 6-1, and then it's sort of a bit all over the place.
Yeah, people kind of latched on to a bit of a Sir Michael Stout typical horse in Bay Bridge, but Alan Kerr's one that interests me, Neil, just with
well,
that
yeah,
form
we get to Friday for William Haggis's first winner of the week, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, just because we haven't tipped up a William Haggis horse at this stage. But that form with Adayar, again, sort of you're taking that literally, you've got to sit up and take note.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's not a race I've given a lot of time to so far, but it'd be a fairly amazing Ascot if I didn't bet. Maybe George Bowie's he's taken over a bit too much, but normally I'd have bet half a dozen Willie Haggis horses by now.
Well, just the Alan Kerr form, just in terms of Adayar, quick mention for the Derby. What sort of race did that ride? Do you think we will get to the end of the year and look back at Adayar's Derby and say that the form really stood up? What would be your view on it?
I would say the best horse won. The best day of a mile and a half. He was going away. Okay, he got the gaps and a good trip, but his horse will probably improve most from the trials, and he's the one who finished the strongest.
I mean, I guess...
I didn't see any unlucky losers in the race.
No, I agree with that. But I guess people who want to crab the race would say, well, a maiden 100-1 finished second, and, the horses that were really expected, 1 or 2 of them didn't run their race. But I thought it was a really good Derby, actually.
But we say that every year.
It looks like good.
Every year we say that. We try to knock it, but is there nothing wrong?
No, I thought it looked a good race.
Solid Derby.
There's plenty of money for it at the end, so someone obviously knew.
That's well backed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, I don't think it wasn't.
Well backed, and everyone happy for Adam Kirby. Everyone very story of the race. Let's move on to the Commonwealth Cup, first Group 1 of the Friday. Straight to you, Frankie, because obviously you ride Campanelle here, a filly who we haven't seen as much of as we would have liked, I guess. But what's the inside track on her? You've obviously been over to ride her in Newmarket.
Yeah, look, she won the Queen Mary last year in good fashion. Wesley kept it in Europe, won the morning, beat the colt, did nothing wrong. Then we tried, the choices were run 5 or a mile at Keeneland. We decided to go a mile. It was plain obvious she didn't get the trip. She's done nothing wrong. She arrived there, or the work, she seemed in good order, and I wouldn't swap her for anything. She's done nothing wrong.
And
she's won on the track.
I think Wesley was quoted in saying that after Keeneland, the Commonwealth Cup was absolutely the aim with her. So they were really focusing in on it. Is he happy with preparations? Does he think he's got her here in the similar form to last year?
Yeah, listen, I rode her. She seems fine, and and I'm probably going to ride her again on Saturday. Look, this was always the aim, and she seemed like she travelled well. And like I said, you know, she's a Group 1 winner. She's won on the track, and you know, she's entitled to be favourite. She's done nothing wrong.
Are you with
agree?
her or against her, Neil? Yeah.
Well, you know, as we were talking earlier, weren't we? I had said I could be happy without having a bet if Frankie wins the Gold Cup. If he wins this race, I'm going to be unhappy. He might spoil my day, actually, because my good friend Tristan Wootton, he calls me every year. It's like a tradition. A few weeks before the Royal Ascot, he always manages to dig out a French one that no one else has heard of. And it must have been 5 weeks ago. He said, "You've got to bet this horse Suessa." It's 4 from 4. The form's been franked as well. Two wins this year. Yard is absolutely flying. I think Supremacy for Clive Cox is top rated on the official ratings, 118. This French horse is rated I think it's rated 113. Supremacy really struggled as well in the Pavilion Stakes and didn't look right. He said to me he thinks it's a certainty, this horse. I think it's about 5 to 1, isn't it, Chief? I mean, it hasn't been...
We are 5 to 1.
It hasn't been back from like huge prices. I think it's always been steady in the market at kind of 6 or 7. When he first said it to me, I think it was 7 to 1.
So your mate Tristan says that this
He
horse
is.
is a certainty.
This guy is an absolute judge of French racing.
Okay.
He never gets it wrong. He's given me so many French Royal Ascot winners over the years, and if he says it, I'm on it.
Does that make you nervous, Frankie?
I was
Tristan?
asked to ride the horse because of the quarantine. I don't think the jockeys can come over. I watched it. I mean, she absolutely sluiced up, but who did she beat? You know, that's the question. I mean, on the eye, looks great. She won by 4 lengths, hands and heels, Olivier rode it.
And you never abandon your filly for Wesley Warden.
Well, she's not Group 1 winner yet, the other one, so I'm going to stick with mine.
Stick with yours. Any notable market movers left or right, up or down?
There's another one in there that I was a bit worried about. Archie's got one. Archie Watson, Dragon Symbol. Is that
Dragon
about 7
symbol,
to 1?
It is 7 to 1, yeah. Exactly. There's a bit of 8s around. We are 7 to 1 on.
I thought that might be a danger. And I think Ken Condon's got one as well. He was saying it would really like the fast ground. It's called, what's it called? Miss Amulet. Ran in the Irish 1000. Didn't like the soft ground.
Sort of generally 25s.
Okay. But yeah, I don't know. I've got to be on this Sueza.
Fair enough. Just using the opportunity, quick word for Wesley Warden. I know we've mentioned him a lot, but just in terms of riding for him, is he as laid back as he appears?
He is.
He is.
I mean, yeah.
He rocks in with his tie sort of skew whiff and down here into the winner's enclosure at Royal Ascot. I just love that.
He is the most positive guy I ever met, you know. Everything he runs, he thinks he can win.
When was the last time you came into the paddock and a trainer or owner told you...
To hold on.
This is how you've got to ride my... Like, surely they just let you get on with it now. It's a bit rude if they come in and start giving big instructions.
In fairness, if you ride a horse and you've never rode before, you listen to the trainers. But with the case of Wesley, he just tells me to hold on. What do you want me to do, Wesley? He says, just hold on.
That's always solid advice with the horse.
Hold on. But you say that he is so positive about his horses. He can have 10 runners across the week, and if you listen to him, you just end up coming away from a phone call with him thinking,
He's won 10.
He's winning 10.
Yeah.
He's absolutely winning 10. So on that note, if you get beat on one, sort of how disappointed is he on the other flip side of that?
Nobody likes losing. He's fairly, to put in the losing category, not bad.
Okay, not a bad loser, like it. But the winners, he celebrates pretty well, I would imagine.
He's amazing. In 10 years, he won 11 races at Royal Ascot. I mean, not English trainers can do that.
He adds...
Really, if you think about it, it's mad, really.
Yeah. And Chief, just from a sort of outsider looking in PR point of view, he adds such a huge amount to the meeting, doesn't he?
Oh, massive amount to the meeting. Yeah, we need more foreign trainers over here. I'm lucky enough to travel internationally a lot with British friends who've got horses
you never know what he's going to bring. But you, Lady Aurelia, Acapulco. I mean, Nene Never. You think, wow, we don't see things like that. You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, not everyone's is going to win like that, but when they do, you give wow. You know what I mean? We needed something like this.
It's obviously difficult for horses to come across this year because
Absolutely.
of Corona, and like I think the French have only got 3 runners. Andre Fabre was saying he didn't have any, and now I think he might have 1. But yeah, I mean, you got to kind of congratulate him even more really this year. For it would be an easy year to say, well, I can't do it this year, or I'm just going to send 2 or 3.
100%.
I met him in the car park 3 years ago after racing, and trying to get sort of the inside track on things the next day. And all he was interested in was giving me restaurant recommendations when I was coming over to the Breeders' Cup that year. So like me, he enjoys his food.
Sound advice.
He's a top man. I stayed with him in Florida, actually.
Good fun to be around?
Good fun. He just gave me one word of advice. He says, what?
Hold on.
He said to me, you're not allowed to go south or go stream. I says, why is that? Because if you go to South Beach, you'll never come back.
Probably good advice.
And he was right.
Yeah, good advice. I like that. Right, let's move on to the Coronation Stakes, which I think could be one of the races of the meeting. If half of these horses turn up, it's going to be right up there. Mother Earth for Aidan tops the betting at the moment, Chief, is that right?
Mother Earth does top the betting for Aidan, 7-2. It's very competitive betting heat, this. Primo Bastio for Ed Walker, 11-2. Pretty Gorgeous for Joseph, 6-1. Joan of Arc for Aidan O'Brien, 10-1. Potapova, 10-1 for Sir Michael, and then 12-1 Bar. I shouldn't say 12-1 Bar because I was, and this is name dropping again, down at Hannon's the other week, and he's very, very keen on Snow Lantern. And very, very keen.
Well,
I've even had a wager that day.
Oh, right. Well, just focusing in on the favourite Mother Earth, if she does go here, obviously won the Guineas under you, Frankie. Did it ride like a top-class Guineas? I mean, she was well tried at 2, and then she's come out and done that and been second in the French version, proved herself to be absolutely top-notch this year.
She's done nothing wrong.
Does she feel top-class?
She's done nothing wrong. She proved that in France, and she's got to be favourite. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And when I rode the Guineas, it was all the big talk about Santa Barbara, and I was having a chat with Dave, and I said, would you like me to follow Santa Barbara? I said, no, you just ride your own race. Forget about her. You just concentrate on yours. Yours going really well. And he was right. And yeah. A
lot of people made a lot about your ride that day, and
I didn't do that much different. I just followed them on the outside, and I kicked at the bushes, and I won. I didn't do anything particularly great. I think the filly did all the running, and she proved it in France, and that she's a good filly.
Now, you're actually going to get on Pretty Gorgeous for Joseph O'Brien.
Yes.
You're riding both of Joseph's good chances for the week. What do you know about Pretty Gorgeous in terms of an inside track? What have you been told so far?
Well, again, I think she's got a very good Tweedle form. She was favourite for the Irish Guineas, I think.
Yeah, 15-8 favourite.
Was a lot of talking. The ground was...
Yeah. And I think Joseph
factor.
has said on record that he was expecting her to come on a lot from that run.
Good.
I think it was something like that, yeah. So you're pleased to get that ride, basically?
Yes, obviously, yes. Yeah, I'm excited because, bits of form from last year are good.
Very, yeah.
So, you got to take that and obviously translate it to this year. It didn't work out in the Guineas. And yes, if we go back to last year's form, I should be thereabouts.
And Mother Earth won't be your only worry in that race because alcohol-free, if she goes there, I think she could improve again. Neil, where are you looking in this? Prima Baccio, I'm surprised by her price of fraction.
I backed Prima Baccio last time, so I have a soft spot for her, and I was impressed. Yeah, I kind of feel like I would like to have 8-1 and not 4-1.
I think.
I think I could probably back her at 6-1. I don't know. She's not that price at the moment. I think she might. Oh, is she? Okay. Well, I sort of felt like she might drift back a bit. Pretty Gorgeous. I listened to Joseph. Yeah, I can't remember where he was talking somewhere the other day, and he said that Pretty Gorgeous had a bit of a hold-up going into the Irish 1000, which I don't really remember him saying before the race. I don't know. What do you think about that, Frankie? When horses, I'm not saying she hasn't trained on or won't train on, but how quickly can you tell whether a 2-year-old going into their 3-year-old season has trained on or not, or whether it's just maybe that was just a small problem she had in that race. She had a hold up before the Guineas. She had an off day.
Physique.
If she has an off day at Ascot, would you then say that's it? She hasn't trained on, or can you tell getting on it in the paddock? Or
I would say basically physique and homework. You know, you know by your own work. But if she starts favourite for the Guineas, then obviously her homework must have been all right. You know, because if they thought she didn't train on, you would expect the horse to drift.
Sure. So
although there is some good vibes out of it. Then she was favourite.
Yeah.
She must have been favourite for a reason because her homework must have been good.
Although him saying that, he'd had a hold up with her before the Guineas, she still went off favourite. Whether that's because, I don't know, horses presumably have more niggles all the time and we don't always hear about
it.
The
fillies division is pretty tight. You know, there is no standout. Okay, Mother Earth won the Guineas, but, it was 2 lengths between the top 4, so there is... not standout horse in the race, and you can make a case. I like the filly the Walkers won at
Bacha.
I mean, I rode in the race. The Sky Lantern filly pulled too hard, and she was a big outsider, and Andrea was behind me, and he just passed me, and it took off.
It did have
impressive.
It had a bit of wow factor to it, didn't it? Yeah. But the other thing is when you get a slightly, and no disrespect to Ed Walker, but when you get a slightly smaller trainer, someone who's not George Bowie or Aidan O'Brien, they're good value in the market, but I'm not quite sure whether she is. Like she, given that she's trained by, only Ed Walker. You kind of would think, maybe I'll get 8 to 1 or 10 to 1 or something.
Yeah, I think she's very short for my liking. I know she was impressive that day, but I think there's some in there behind her in the betting that could overtake her on the day, for me personally. Chief, anything else to add for that?
No, I'm still
you said the money for Snow Lantern?
I'm still with Snow Lantern.
Yeah. So positive vibes from the yard, was that then?
Yeah, very positive vibes from the yard.
Okay.
But have you ever known Hannon Jr. to not be positive?
I was going to say.
Or any of them, actually,
on that point, I mean, generally for punters at home, I don't know, I like to read his blog, Richard Hannon. I think it's quite entertaining and he's quite a funny guy. I don't know him at all, but he's always positive. Should punters just not take any notice of that kind of thing?
I think they should take notice of it, personally.
You think it's underrated by the market?
I think it's underrated by the market. This is, my own opinion, not Sporty Indexes. And obviously I spoke to someone in the yard who knows a lot more than Richard about the horse, and it's, he's pretty keen.
But with all those kind of trainer, jockey blogs and stuff like that, do you think, some of them are a load of rubbish and some of them are worth looking at? Or do you think the pessimistic people, when they're always pessimistic and then they say something good, that's time to obviously latch on?
I don't pay enough attention, and to be honest, I only pay attention to Frankie.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's loyal.
Yeah, loyal team player. Anything else in the handicaps? Obviously the Sandringham, the Duke of Edinburgh and the Palace of Holyrood House handicap stakes round off proceedings. Anything you fancy at all?
I must confess, I was starting to tail off at this stage of the week. I mean, I need to see, if there is a big draw edge early in the week, I'd like to see, I'm not going to be doing a lot of anti-post on the handicaps. I thought it was quite interesting this year, because we've got these extra races, the cards all have a kind of completely different shape to them, don't they? Every day, there's 4 stakes races and then 3 handicaps. It's almost like the Queen said to them, I want to knock off about 4:30 and beat the traffic, get back to Windsor.
Never mind the Queen, that's what Frankie said.
Is that you, Frankie?
Yes,
Have you got the influence there?
Absolutely.
Have you said to them, I'm not riding in the last 3?
He's like, put those handicaps at the end.
Yeah, put the Group 1 the last race, 10:06.
Yeah.
And make everybody bored the whole day.
But in America, that would happen, wouldn't it? The top race of the day would be the last race and we'd build up to it. But it's I'm not saying, there's nothing, the Palace of Holyrood Holyrood will be a brilliant race. It'll have a load of runners, and I'm sure to have at least 5 bets in it. But it's kind of a bit odd in England that we have the smaller races at the end of the day.
Those big races have been there for donkey's years, exactly the same format.
Yeah.
And I think people in England and racing has been tradition. And I agree with it, and they shouldn't change it.
That wraps up proceedings of day 4. One more day to go. On to the Saturday. Frankie Dettori will be walking in here as leading jockey at this point, straight into the Chesham. Do you have a ride in the Chesham?
Yes, I'm riding the Twitter of John Gosden of the Queens.
Bit of pressure riding for the Queen at Royal Ascot?
He's great. He's a See the Stars colt. Great.
Tactical in the Chesham last year for the Queen, is that right?
No, Tactical won the Windsor Castle.
Oh, that was it, yeah.
So, look, it's always great when you ride for her. And, she's 95 and still going strong and still coming to Royal Ascot. So,
you're not allowed to tell us what she talks about when you talk to her, but you talk very specifically about the form of that horse if you talk to her, do you?
So, when I first rode for her when Ian Baldy used to have horses for the Queen.
Yes.
And we managed to have a runner for her every day when it was 4 days. And anyway, Lord Carnarvon came to see me. I was a little kid, maybe 20 to 21, with the Loxon years. So he said to me, do you know what to do? And I went, it was 7 foot tall. I went, no, sir. No, you bow, you tip your hat, and you say Your Majesty, and then when she asks you a question, you reply by the end sentence, Ma'am. So anyway, arrived the first day, and Your Majesty, and then she said, she didn't say nothing. The second day, I'd same again, said Your Majesty, and she said, what's the going like? Good to firm, Ma'am. Oh, I nailed it. The third day, we having a conversation now. So it comes down to the last day, it's Ascot Heath. And usually when the Queen's there, there's lots of people. And so I went to the paddock and I was talking to my colleagues and I glanced up and there she was there and I didn't expect her to be there. And I froze and I went, how are ya? At this moment I got a whack, I kicked in the shin by Lord Carnarvon and I limped towards my horse. I think if I had a shovel, I would have buried myself. But she laughed. She just opened her arms. She went, I'm still here. She's amazing.
That's excellent.
Absolutely.
Let's bring it back to the Chesham, Neil, because I like Andrew Balling's. Is it Maze Keller in this? The one that won first time out under Oisin Murphy? Is it Goodwood? And as Oisin said beforehand, I think he thought it was their nicest 2-year-old. And he was kind of like, I'm putting my head on the... I was filming with him the day before and he said, I'm putting my neck on the line here. Obviously, could be green as grass. But I think it's our nicest 2-year-old, and it went and won like it did.
I'm going to make a pitch to score 10 points again because although I said...
Is your boy well running?
I really don't know anything about breeding, but I do know that the favourite Point Lonsdale for Aidan is a stayer, which they are generally if you're running in the Chesham, it's your kind of future stayers, isn't it? But it's Australia. Now that means it wants cut, doesn't it? By Saturday, this is going to be red hot fast ground, isn't it? A stayer that wants cut in the ground. How can that be 7-4 for the race?
I'm not giving you 10 points for that, but...
Do I not get 10 points for that?
I don't think it was a valid enough point.
Oh, okay.
I'm happy to accept it, but
I thought I might be more steered towards the Godolphin horse. Charlie Appleby's got New Science.
Yeah.
Which absolutely bolted up at Yarmouth on its debut. I don't know what price that is, Chief.
3-1, and it's blue everywhere.
Ah, there we go. I haven't touched it, honestly. That wasn't me.
Was that?
New Science.
It's been well backed.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's the market mover in the Chesham, is it? New Science?
It is indeed, yeah.
Okay.
Masakala 5-1, Reach for the Moon, then it's 14-1.
And is that Point Lonsdale, is that about 7-4 favourite?
It is 7-4, yeah.
Well, it must be the lay of the day then.
Well,
Want to take it on the Australia staying act?
Well, it's one of those, if Aidan's having a good week, then it probably won't be 7-4.
That's true, yeah.
Okay, we can move on then to the Hardwicke, I think.
I know which I'm riding here.
Drum roll.
Yes, it's the Ledger winner, Logician.
Ah,
I remember him.
there you go.
Magician,
Easy to remember.
I mean, the day he won the Ledger,
Yeah.
everyone was like, wow.
Yes.
And I know he's had his problems since,
A lot of problems.
and I actually feel sorry for him because physically he's obviously not right. As in, that you're getting him to a point where you keep...
But you know what,
Has he fallen out of love with the game a bit?
No, it's not that. Look, he had big problems. He had big problems to a point that now he lives in his own box. And he's a big horse, and to get them big horses fit, they need racing. And he was encouraging the way he ran at Newbury. He was carrying plenty, and it looked like he was coming back to himself. And this is the obvious target for him. Look, if he's going to come back the way that he was before he had all these problems, I don't know. But it looks like then he's slowly progressing to be close to that.
And when just from training him at home, obviously now that, because he's had those problems, you have to be a bit you have to be a bit careful with him with his training, or is it when it's a green light you just plough on like normal?
Of course you have to be careful. He's older, and look, I leave that to John. I rode him about 10 days ago. It seems then he's come on from Newbury. He's got to step up again. Depends what turns up, Will Japan go there, or will he go to Prince of Wales? It depends,
It sounds like Broome is going to be the main Aidan runner, but Serpentine could go for the race, I think.
Correct. So, it's usually a decent race, the Hardwicke. And
what do we think about Owen Burrows' horse, Huckham?
Won at the meeting last year.
Yeah.
Disappointed a bit since.
It has a bit, but I don't know. I mean, I felt like at Sandown it was coming to win the race on its seasonal debut, and it maybe just kind of flattened out a bit.
A bit of cut in the ground, and you've already said that...
Well, this is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Broome would be interesting for me. I think he's unfortunate not to be 4 from 4 this season. And obviously Aidan, as you touched upon before, it's these sort of horses, Galileo types and staying types that come into this with the class, and then, he could farm this, couldn't he? But I'd love to see Logician back to his best. Just
me
that day
too. Bless him. Look.
Yeah, you kind of feel it when you see a sparkling performance like that, and then you don't see it again. You're kind of itching to see a glimmer of it again. So, yeah, I'd be hopeful he could bounce back to his best. Any market movers there, Chief?
No market movers. This is the sort of race we like as bookies. It's wide open. Broome 4-1, Hockham 5-1. Illarab, small nibbles for that, 8-1. Pile Driver, 10-1.
That's not going to go for the race.
No, exactly. So Ron Priestley, 10-1. Will that go? Tiger Moth, 10-1. Logician, 12-1. Big price for its back to.
I think Tiger Moth's going elsewhere, isn't it?
And Serpentine, 12-1.
Would rattling fast ground be a problem for Logician or not?
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be because he's so big.
Yeah.
But listen, Chris Dickles is amazing. He's never, always does a great job.
Because they're funny surface, Ascot, isn't it? People say that, there's obviously a layer of turf, but underneath there's a kind of sandy base. And that means that horses that run well on the all-weather tend to run okay at Ascot.
Well, listen, the old course is still, up to the 5 is still the old course, and is natural, and when you get a drop of rain, we go in pretty deep.
But I don't really understand how the sand being underneath. Like, how the hell do the horses know that that's there? Like, surely the turf is cushioned enough for them to. Why is it good for all-weather horses?
I'll be honest with you. This is the first time I heard that.
Is that something Tristan told you again?
No, I think that's quite. Well,
Tristan only does La France.
Oh yeah, sorry.
French things, yes. He's having a celebration, snails and pate right now. Yeah.
Frog's legs.
Okay, well, let's talk about the only Group 1 of the Saturday, the Diamond Jubilee, which again, Ed Walker, who's got enough mentions on this show, sort of in the George Bowie category, but he's obviously got Starman here, who won so well last time out at York.
Very impressive, wasn't it?
Well, he had both his runners up at York was so impressive. But this is a wide open division. I think you said that earlier. It's sort of the sprinting division.
I haven't got a ride in the race, and obviously. The Ed Walker horse won really well.
And he beat Art Power, who has done well here in the past, hasn't he? But he probably wants a bit of cut in the ground, doesn't he? So I don't really like him for
Dream
this
of
race.
Dreams will pick the pieces up again.
Yeah, he's classy, but
Does it need soft ground though, no?
yeah, I don't know.
Haydock was
Yeah.
quite deep.
I had a run of backing him 2 years ago when he finished second every single time. I think I'm kind of cured of Dream of Dreams now.
Well, if Starman can progress, it can keep going on his upward sort of curve, then he deserves to be top of the betting. What price is he, Chief?
3-1.
And he is the progressive horse in the race. Are you with? Or
I wouldn't be
against
against him. The price doesn't tempt me that much. And I've got to back some William Haggas horses at some stage. What price is Nahar, Chief?
7-1 now.
That might interest me a little bit in this race. I mean, his stable is so flying, and I know they do obviously target York a bit more than Ascot maybe, but it would be a weird thing if they didn't have any winners in the week. I've got to back a couple of his surely.
So you're siding with Nahar to reverse the
so.
form with Starman?
I think so.
I feel like that's a very tentative. He's sat there going, I think so. Anything else in that race that's a notable market move or?
None whatsoever. Very quiet at the moment, to be honest. It will kind of be quiet until we actually know what's running.
There's
in the
one
race.
coming over from Ireland, isn't there? Paddy Toomey's got one called, is it Sonala?
If it's national hunt racing, this would be a certain.
It won a Group 3 race in Ireland.
So that is it? There you go, 16-1.
There you go. Well, that's quite a short price, relatively, for an overseas runner coming in from a smaller stable. No
Like, look at that, Neil.
I thought it was interesting, but I can't say I've totally firmed up my opinion there. I won't be backing Art Power. I won't be backing Dream of Dreams. I'm sort of tempted by Starman, but I'd like a bigger price.
I think we're all a little bit lukewarm on the Diamond Jubilee then, and Frankie's still looking for a ride. So if anyone wants to pick the phone up, he'll take that because it's a Group 1, as opposed to the 3 handicaps that wrap up the season.
He'll be halfway home by the time the Wokingham starts.
Absolutely.
Chopper.
Yeah.
Not really, no. Actually, I've got an interesting ride in the last.
Have you? In the Queen Alexandra?
I
The Chester
ride
Cup winner.
the Chester Cup winner.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite... Are we going to talk about the Queen Alexandra now? I find that race was fascinating. I love that race, actually.
Now's the time to talk about it, Neil.
Well, it's just because you get those kind of old plodders off the jumps, don't you? At riding against...
It's not easy on the legs. I mean,
And they're against the top class sort of, the flat... There's quite often flat horses that have only gone 1 mile 6
it
or
was
1
more or less
or 2
a
miles.
non-event until 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Willie Mullins, Gordon Elliott,
Yeah.
Nicky Anderson, Martin, they all started targeting
That's
this
right.
race. And now...
Andrew Baldy, he has
now
runners in it as well.
It gives the jump trainers a chance to have a
Huey
run.
Morrison, he usually has runners in it. And yeah, there's a few. I find it a really fascinating race. I think I backed Sproulston Boy all those years ago when Gay Kellaway had a winner.
That's going back.
Yeah,
And who do you fancy this year then?
God knows, haven't looked at all.
Right, okay. Dock his wage again.
There's no
Yeah.
betting for the race at the moment. But I do
How
take
did Dermot
note.
say the horse come out of the Chester Cup?
Well, the target, he said, is always going to Ascot after the Chester Cup.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Do you think...
he's-
I don't think it's a handicapper, is it?
Frankie, explain to
No.
me, if a horse stays 2 miles on the jumps, or say 2 miles 6 on the jumps,
Yeah.
why do we think that there's a doubt whether it will stay on the flat? Why, I don't understand why horses can stay on the jumps but not the flat.
I can't answer the question. I only rode 1 race of a jumps at Chepstow over 2 miles. I don't have that much experience on the jump.
Have you not bred a Cheltenham winner?
I played the Cheltenham winner, but I didn't ride it.
It's weird though that horses that they can stay further on the jumps than they can on the flat. I suppose it's because they just go slower and
Slower,
whatever.
yeah.
It seems a bit weird to me.
Just a quick mention for anything in the Wokingham or the Golden Gates handicap from any of you.
While we were off air, I said something to you in the Wokingham, and you kind of just scoffed at me. So now I'm feeling like
I scoffed so badly, I can't even remember what it was.
Okay. Well, there's a horse called Pierre Lapin.
Oh,
yeah.
Here we go.
Something to do with rabbits, I think, isn't
I'll
it?
get my glasses back on.
It was 7-2 to win the Commonwealth Cup, which I think we'll all agree is a better race than the Wokingham, generally speaking.
Agreed.
And now it's 25-1 to win the Wokingham.
Because my point was, it's disappointed so dramatically since flopping in that race all the way through. But
It's run on ground that it didn't like.
Okay.
And it was running over further. So now it's back in trip. They've gelded it. And they've put it away, and it's with Roger Varian, target trainer. I don't know. I mean, I thought it looked quite a big price. I mean, I probably won't go too crazy in the handicaps anti-post, just because a race like the Wokingham, on the day you'll get 6 places, and if you bet now, you know, you'll probably get 4 places.
Correct.
But I think that's one that could potentially shorten up a fair bit between now and then.
Okay, I'm not scoffing at you, by the way.
It felt like you were a little.
Sorry.
So 25 to 1-0.
Great
I'll have
shout.
to have a little tickle, I think.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much wraps things up, unless anyone else has anything
Well, a
else.
25 to 1 winner to end it is not bad.
Absolutely top class, Neil. Exactly, top class.
Phew.
Frankie, have a great week.
Thank you.
Enjoy it. We'll all be rooting for you.
Thank you.
Chief, good luck at your end as well. Neil, best of luck to you and George Bowie too. We're
Thanks.
rooting for you and the
two,
team.
whether I have a good week and whether he has a good week might be somewhat intertwined.
Absolutely. Well, look, thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure. Good luck, everyone. That was your Royal Ascot preview for 2021. Thanks to Sporting Index.